friends, I hope you're having a great day. I hope you enjoyed your long weekend if you had one. If not, I hope you at least took some time to take care of yourself and rest and rejuvenate a little bit. I actually wanted to come on here because yesterday I announced that I received my 6-month midway certificate from the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, which means my doors are officially open to you as a health coach. But you know, I recognize that health coaching is a very new field, and a lot of you might not know what a health coach is. So I wanted to come on here and be vulnerable with you for a little bit, so I'm a little bit nervous, but I want to share with you my story about why I became a health coach and what my health journey is that brought me here, and also what a health coach is, why you might want one in your life, and how we might be able to work together. So my health journey really began 4 years ago when I hit a very, very dark place. I remember the day perfectly because it really was a moment in time that just changed everything. It was the day after Halloween, which also happened to be the day before my 21st birthday, and that Halloween night I had gone out drinking with some friends and with Christian, my fiance, and as I did often that year and previously, I decided to drink away all my problems that I was facing, and I blacked out. And I didn't remember anything the next day. I remember waking up next to Christian and just feeling like something horrible had happened, and sure enough, it did. So I woke up and Christian, who did not black out, remembered everything, and he had to recount the events to me. And he told me that I had spent the entire night in a tantrum, yelling at him, yelling the cruelest, meanest things, that I hated him, that I didn't love him, and I was mortified because he is the person that I love so much, who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, and I didn't mean those words. I didn't mean a single one. And I remember when he told me that, it hit me like a brick wall. I felt like my entire world shattered around me, and I realized that those words were not meant for him. I was projecting onto him things that I felt about myself. I didn't love myself. I hated myself. I didn't like who I was. And looking into his eyes, I could just see all of that reflected back onto me. And I was so scared. And he didn't leave, which is a testament to what an incredible man he is. But he stayed by my side, and he just told me how much he loved me, how much he was there for me, how much he adored me. And instinctively, I knew that I had come to a fork in the road. I could keep on living the life I had and trying to ignore my problems and traumatic events that I had gone through previously, or I could learn to love myself, because I knew innately that self-love was the answer, and I knew that if I could find self-love, that it could redirect my life. So I committed myself that day to finding self-love and to living a healthy lifestyle, because if I didn't, I knew that I would lose the person I loved most, I knew that I would hurt the people around me, and I knew that I might hurt myself. So even though it seemed so out there and it seemed so unachievable, I held on to this belief of self-love. And from that day forward, I fought every single day for loving myself and for living a healthy lifestyle. I began with health and with food and my body, because up until this point, I had had a very pendulum-like relationship with my body and with food. So I noticed that I took out a lot of my emotions on eating or on exercising excessively. And this was because I had gone through a lot growing up. I had gone through some really traumatic events that I never really processed, that I never confronted, and what happened was I ended up internalizing those events and all those feelings because I didn't have an outlet for them. And that's why I was feeling those feelings of self-hatred and self-loathing, was because it was all just inside of me and coming out onto myself. So that's why I started with health, because I knew that I needed to have a really healthy relationship with my body if I wanted to learn to love myself, because that's what I often pointed to at hating. So I began to learn how to cook for myself. I began to learn how to journal and set aside time to check in with my emotions. I started to meditate and hold space for myself and check in with my body. I learned how to mindfully exercise, meaning I learned how to check in with my body before exercising so that I didn't push myself past my limit. And that really allowed me to release tension that I was holding in. And sure enough, these habits really became a daily routine, and I would do these things every single day, at least weekly. And what I noticed was that these habits really took the place of some vices I had used before, like the drinking, smoking, emotional eating, exercising excessively, and they allowed me to start my healing process more soberly. And it was a really difficult process, even though these habits gave me so much. I could feel the changes in my body. I could feel more self-awareness coming about. But I have to say that contrary to what you might see from different Instagram models or even certain health magazines that tell you that eating kale is the answer to everything, or that drinking your green smoothie is the golden fountain of health, these habits did not cure my inner issues and my trauma and what I was going through internally. But what I will say is that these habits were actually so vital in my process of healing and finding self-love and leading me to true health, because they facilitated my process of self-healing. By journaling, I was able to check in with my emotions. Meditation, like I said, I was able to check in with my body. Exercising allowed me to release tension that I was holding in, and cooking allowed me to nourish myself. And these things allowed me to learn how to take care of myself as an adult. So they had built self-trust in me, which I had never really had before. So I actually hit rock bottom after these habits. And I think that's something that is a little bit counterintuitive, which maybe you didn't expect. I actually went through the hardest period of depression and the deepest, most crippling anxiety after this for a few years after forming these healthy habits, because I was finally confronting everything I was holding back. And I have to say that it was a really scary, it was a very challenging process, but it allowed me to go deeper. And because I was learning to check in with myself, I knew that I had to practice tough self-love, which is something I talk about a lot in my blog. And that means practicing the self-care and self-love that is not easy. It's not face masks, it's not bubble masks, it's reaching out for help, it's setting boundaries, it's saying no to yourself and to others. And I started to do this. I called my mom, I told her that I wasn't okay, I asked for her help for finding a therapist, I talked to my sister more, I reached out to friends, and I talked to Christian about going through depression and anxiety, which I never had before. And sure enough, day by day, I kept holding on to this idea of self-love, and I kept committing to myself every single day. Even though there were days that I stayed in bed, I called in sick to work to just grieve, to feel numb, and there was a full year where I just cried every single day, sometimes multiple days. I'd go to the bathroom in my work and I'd cry, and it felt like this huge purging of everything that I was holding back. And it was very, very scary, but I fought for myself, because that's what you have to do. You absolutely always have to fight for yourself and fight for that self-love, and that's what I did. I was fortunate that during this time I was working, or at least during a period of this time, I was working at a natural food store. So I was also learning about how to cook vegan and vegetarian foods. I was learning about herbs and supplements. And so even though I was going through this process of purging old wounds and healing and tending to myself, I was also still learning about a lot of different health aspects and how to better my physical, mental, emotional health. And this was really, really, looking back, I see that this was so enormous because it led me to where I am now. And I have to say that I fought tooth and nail for myself, and I can finally say that I love myself, I adore myself, I put myself as my number one priority. I always put my mental health first, because I know that that's something I always have to dedicate myself to. It's not, I'm still healing a lot of stuff, and life is long. I know there's going to be curveballs, but because of this process, because I learned how to cultivate those healthy habits, because I learned how to tune into myself and tend to myself, I feel so much self-trust in myself to overcome different challenges that life brings. And I have that trust in myself to go on autopilot and take care of myself through cooking, through exercising, journaling, even if things get tough. And this was such a rewarding process, and it really, really led me to where I am now, because I learned how absolutely life-saving loving yourself and being healthy can be. And I want to share with you that I have gone through some really, really difficult shit and gone through some really hard stuff, and I overcame that, and you can too. And I think that a gateway to loving yourself is through forming healthy habits. And then once you start forming healthy habits and you can learn to love yourself, those healthy habits are sustained throughout your lifetime. So I feel really, really confident in being able to share this with you because it's something that I've gone through myself. And it's something that I am continually working on. It is a lifelong journey. But I want to show you that you can go through hard times, you can face uncertainty, and you can absolutely come out on top. You can absolutely live a wonderful, healthy life and love yourself. And it's not unachievable. When I started my journey, I did not know that self-love existed. I held on to it because I had to, and it became my guiding light. But I have to say that I did not fully believe. It's like real love, right? You don't know until you really feel it. And the same goes for self-love. I didn't know it until I really felt it, and I think that I finally felt it this year. So I want to share that with you because so many of us go through hard times, and my story is not uncommon. I know that people go through different periods of grief, uncertainty, hardship. I know that especially when you're in your 20s, which is a period of a lot of transition, a lot of change, you're finding yourself, you're breaking away from family and trying to figure out who you are in the world, almost more than when you are a teenager. You know, everybody talks about being a teenager and you're like playing with different identities. Well, I've gone through like 5 different identity crises already in my 20s, and I've learned how to ride those waves of uncertainty, and I've learned to commit to my health throughout. So I want to share that with you because I think it's a really empowering message that you can totally own your health. You can learn how to listen to your body, listen to what you need, and do it, rather than focusing on outside sources, rather than focusing on health magazines or diet trends or over exercising to the point of injury like I did. But it requires work, it requires dedication, it requires committed time. And that's what I want to offer you as a health coach, because a health coach is somebody that can help you along your health journey and help you reach your health and wellness goals. And because I study at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, my approach is extremely holistic. So I use certain concepts, for instance, like primary food and secondary food. So when you work with me, we're not just going to be talking about what you eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We're going to also be looking at your primary food, which is the food, it's metaphorical food that energizes your spirit, your heart. So things like your career, your relationships, your spirituality, your home environment, your cooking, your physical activity, all those things that contribute to a well-rounded, healthy life. And we're gonna look at how we can, or how you can balance those things in your life in a way that works for your lifestyle, for your budget, and for what you desire. And that's really what I'm here for. I'm here to assist you in your process and make sure that you have dedicated time to your health and to finding self-love and cultivating self-love. And you know what? I have a very, very positive, enthusiastic approach because I'm not a boot camp officer. I am always going to cheer you on. I'm always going to celebrate your small wins, and I'm always going to be there for you. You are my number one priority, and I want to be there in your journey. So if you are interested in maybe working with me, maybe you want to find out a little bit more, maybe you have a health goal that you want to commit to, or like maybe you want more energy, you want to get more sleep, you want to incorporate exercise into your routine, but you just don't know how, I can help you with that. If you want to cultivate more self-love, I can help you with that. So what I'm offering is a free consultation. There are absolutely no strings attached. So I'm going to link this in my bio for you to go to. It's a free 50-minute health coaching consultation where we will discuss your health history, we'll talk about your health related concerns and wellness goals, and we'll also discuss what maybe is holding you back from really achieving those. And I'll also let you know about my 6-month program, but again, there are no strings attached. This consultation is 100% for you, and it's really just for you to practice some self-love, practice some self-care, dedicate that time that you've been meaning to really nurture yourself, because you really deserve it. We all deserve to feel self-love, and I really do believe that there's such a self-love deficit in this world, and it's causing so much harm and it's causing so much pain. And I believe that the more that we can learn to hone into our own self-love, practice healthy habits, the more we can really give back and support those around us, and really giving back to the world in the way that we were born to do. So if that's something that excites you and you are interested in, please do not hesitate. Please, please, please sign up for the free consultation today, and I will get in touch with you about when we can meet. And if you have any questions at all, do not hesitate to reach out. Send me a DM, send me an email. I am totally, totally here for you. Self-love and being healthy is so possible. It's not out of reach. And even if you've gone through some really hard stuff, really difficult, traumatic events, you are more than worthy of self-love and being healthy. So I hope that you gained something from this video. I want you to know that you're not alone and that you can absolutely achieve what you want. So I hope you have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow for my Wellness Wednesday. Be sure to sign up for my free consultation. Ciao!